code SALEM to get 50% off. Subscribe today. TouchstoneMag.com, discount code SALEM.
Team Hochberg Traffic Center time this morning, and Jim Talamonte.
There's a crash on Main Street in Wheaton this morning at Roosevelt. Looking north in Highland Park, there's a crash on eastbound Lake Cook over 41. The truck apparently lost some sludge there. Niles Central is blocked between Toohey and Jarvis with buckled pavement. Inbound Stevenson traffic still very heavy. First Avenue to Cicero. Two right lanes are blocked after a major overnight collision. It's 1 hour from 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 27 minutes. Inbound Kennedy, you're looking at a 1 or 2 minute delay from the Hubbard Tunnel to the Burns Circle. Inbound Eisenhower, a 2 minute delay, 17th Avenue to Des Plaines Avenue. Inbound Ryan, near 59th Street, got a crash just reported. Travel time, 25 minutes from 95th. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Partly sunny, hot and humid today, high of 94. Clear and warm overnight, low 76, and 93 with a chance of a thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon. 78 at O'Hare. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Unlock Your Wealth with host Raj Shah. Sunday mornings at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what
VP auditioning this weekend was she to be Biden's running mate, and she was on with Dana Bash on CNN. This is what she had to say about the president's speech. She's asked about taking down monuments to George Washington, for example, and she wouldn't make a commitment on that issue, but she did have a commentary about the president's speech at Mount Rushmore.
In your view, where does it end? Should statues, for example, of George Washington come down?
Well, let me just say that we should start off by having a national dialogue on it at some point. But right now we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and one of our countries that are opposed to us, Russia, has put a bounty on American troops' heads. What really struck me about the speech that the president gave at Mount Rushmore was that he spent more time worried about honoring dead Confederates than he did talking about the lives of the 130,000 Americans who lost their lives to COVID-19, or by warning Russia off of the bounty they're putting on Americans' heads. I mean, his priorities are all wrong here. He should be talking about what we're going to do to overcome this pandemic. What are we going to do to push Russia back? And instead, he had no time for that. He spent all his time talking about dead traitors.
Hello, back to the statues and the monuments. Hello.
Dead traitors. He spent most of his time, when he talked about anybody individually, providing vignettes on the history and accomplishments of the 4 men memorialized on the mountain, didn't he? Didn't he offer commentary on Jefferson and Washington and Lincoln and Roosevelt? So which one of those 4, or are all of them traitors, Senator Duckworth? For more on this, the president's priorities, we're pleased to be joined by Curtis Ellis, founder, American Jobs Alliance, served as senior policy advisor on the Trump 2016 campaign and the presidential transition team, and as a special advisor to the U.S. Secretary of Labor in the Trump administration. Curtis, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
The president's speech at Mount Rushmore, I mean, wasn't particularly policy-laden and idiosyncratic in the way that Tammy Duckworth wanted it to be, but it wasn't really the occasion for that either. Your impression of sort of the broad strokes that he laid out in terms of understanding of the founding of this country and the presentation of the choices before us and where we can take it.
It was a tremendous speech. It was one of his best, and we need more voices like this being heard right now. We need the people standing up for America. President Trump was standing up for Western civilization, something Tammy Duckworth is incapable of doing, of defending what this country is about, the values that it was founded on, the people that are on that mountain, the great men whose faces are on that mountain, stood for, believed in the principles that made this country and that made this country great. All men are created equal. Those are the words written by Thomas Jefferson. Yes, he didn't live up to them, but I challenge anyone to be perfect. And those who are not perfect shouldn't be throwing stones if you live in a glass house. And, these people who worship Mao Zedong and Vladimir Lenin shouldn't be talking about freedom and equality. Tammy Duckworth can't find it in herself to defend what America is, the values of America, what America is about, what it's founded on. She really shouldn't be serving in the U.S. Senate because she took an oath to defend the Constitution, and she was incapable of defending it and defending America in that little brief interview with Dana Bash. It's just amazing. She talks about, she wants to hear. We're not, by the way, Tammy, you're wrong. We're not in the middle of a pandemic. We're on the way out of it. We're reaching herd immunity. We're seeing the death counts drop. We're even Andrew Cuomo, who craves publicity and wants his daily press briefing, say, we are on the other side of the mountain. We've climbed the mountain. We're coming down. We're on our way out of this thing. So we're not in the middle of anything. We're on the way out of it. What we're in the middle of is mass confusion and mass hysteria brought about by people, by communist insurgents who are exploiting the death, the murder of one man by a police officer to now indict an entire nation and our entire history. And if you can't say that, Tammy Duckworth, you are useless. You need to, we are in the midst, what we're in the middle of is a deliberate effort to smear and destroy the greatest country on earth. Smear it as irredeemably racist that must be burned to the ground and rebuilt from year zero. That's what we're in the middle of.
And we're also,
and unfortunately, too many people on Wall Street and in the corporate suites can't even say that. They're busy paying tribute and bounty, making tribute to these revolutionaries.
And
go ahead.
And President Trump was. I'm glad you brought that up because President Trump was specific in pointing them out, corporate suites too, and I'm glad he did. Because so let's go there. Let's get your take on this. Michael Lind, a professor at the University of Texas, great intellect. His new book, The New Class War, is must reading. I'm sure you're familiar with it. He said, it's a cost benefit calculation that these C-suite champagne socialists are making. They can either bear real expense to, for example, onshore their supply chains from Southeast Asia, or they can just figure out what the payoff is to various constituents in urban centers, the various mobsters and amateur extortionists. And so they choose to do the latter because it's cheaper. And what you have actually in urban centers is two sorts of protests going on. One is the traditional protest by black urban dwellers about police treatment. And another is a protest being driven by the sons and daughters of 60s radicals who are underemployed. Their medieval poetry BA from Vassar only allows them to be a barista, and it's a problem. And so, and he makes this important point. If you take stock of their demands are mostly about redistributing the wealth from some white people to other white people, nonprofits, community organizations, this and that. And, there'll be some spill off for minorities who are in those cottage industries too. But it really has nothing to do with restoring urban centers. It has nothing to do with peace in particularly violent neighborhoods. It has to do with the fact that 1 in 3 college degreed are in professions that don't require a college degree. They're underemployed. They're not making the money to survive, particularly carrying the debt load from college that they have. And so this is where the sort of dogmatic revolutionaries, quote, even though they don't really know anything, but they're dogmatic about what they don't know. This is where they're coming from. And so you have to understand the both dynamics to really appreciate what's happening.
Well, exactly right. Yes, and I've written about this as well. If these companies that are paying tribute to these to these revolutionaries. And make no mistake, Black Lives Matter, the organization, these are Maoist revolutionaries. They want to destroy America. They want to get rid of the nuclear family. I mean, they write it right on their website. Let's believe what they tell us, okay? How about we try doing that? Believe them when they say they want to replace America with some type of communist model village that's never really existed. But if these companies really cared about the people they claim to care about, Black lives, they would bring their supply chains back. They from China, which is a slave state in itself and a racist slave state at that. They took the jobs. These companies, whether it's GM, Mary Barra, whether it's Bank of America and the Wall Street financiers who pushed every industrial company to take the jobs that Black Americans once had, rip them out of this country, and move them to China, move them to East Asia, move them to Mexico, move them to cheap, low-wage countries where if you ask for higher wages, you are shot. So they don't believe in freedom, they don't believe in equality, and they don't believe in Black lives. Because if they believed in Black lives, they'd bring those jobs back to America and rebuild America to the place it was where we have shared prosperity and broad-based prosperity. But they don't do that. And you're right. The people who are going to benefit from all of these donations are the diversity trainers and the nonprofits and the jawboners.
Yeah, they'll take all the money. Hey, so we need to focus on something. In less than 5 months, we have a presidential election. And Joe Biden has.
That.
Yeah, I know. People seem to forget about that because we're all distracted by COVID and riots and unemployment. Joe Biden said he's not going to go out and campaign. So what is President Trump? What's his future plans? And what's his platform, his agenda for his second term?
Okay, so he's going to be having a rally in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, next Saturday, the 11th. It's going to be an outdoor rally, so nobody can scream and moan about, spreading COVID or something. His agenda is to continue rebuilding America. His agenda is to bring those supply chains back to America. We saw through the pandemic just how reliant and dependent we are on foreign-made goods. Everything that used to be made here is now made abroad, and there's no reason it has to be. And by bringing these jobs back, that is going to make Black lives better. It's going to make white lives better, yellow, pink, purple, and green lives better. When we have good-paying jobs in America, we will be able to afford we will have a higher standard of living, and that will take care of the income inequality. That'll take care of the lack of opportunity and the underperforming education system as well. His agenda is better job training. Not everybody should go to college so they can end up being a barista who knows how to deconstruct the race and gender frailties of people who lived 500 years ago. Sometimes we need welders. There are a lot of jobs that are going wanting right now. You can talk to people right in your backyard there in Chicagoland. The manufacturing sector has jobs that have gone wanting. Those jobs never shut down, by the way. A lot of those industries never shut down. I was visiting one with the vice president a couple of weeks ago up in Michigan. So rebuilding our infrastructure, hire American, buy American will be the watchword as we spend federal tax dollars to purchase goods and services. We're going to be buying American and buying and hiring American.
So here's the thing. So I know the May and June job numbers have been surprisingly good, and that's great. 7 million jobs plus in the last 2 months. And I saw Gene Scalia over the weekend on Fox News Sunday saying the economy has lost 15 million fewer jobs than projected. Another projection that was off. And he predicted a V-shaped recovery when the economy is allowed to reopen nationally in every state. But we also haven't fully felt the effects of this, particularly if you continue to have states sort of opening and reopening, stopping and starting. And are you at all worried that once the liquidity provided by Congress to the Fed, even with another round of stimulus checks, if that does come to pass, you're worried at all that we may be on the other side with respect to the spread of the virus, but we aren't yet on the other side in terms of a real accounting of the economic damage we inflicted upon ourselves?
No, that's absolutely right. We're not on the other side of the economic damage. I'm very concerned about that and some of the knock-on effects our children who have not received the education. If these schools don't reopen in September, we are going to inflict lasting damage on them. And we will not know the full extent of this damage for decades, really. So we need to, Congress is looking at more stimulus, more taking care of the people who have been displaced by the shutdown. We need to get the economy back open again, get our way of life back. A lot of these, I suspect a lot of these governors are slow walking this on purpose, hoping to inflict economic damage on President Trump. But we're now being held hostage. The American people are being held hostage because of their gripe with President Trump. So they're willing to sacrifice us in order to make their political case, which is really, really appalling. So there's talk about, for example, extending COBRA payments, right? Keep people on the private health insurance. That'd be good because that'll give people peace of mind as well. The last thing somebody wants to do right now is go looking for a new doctor, and they're afraid. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm confident we will get through this, and we will have a V-shaped recovery. We've seen the incipient signs, the green shoots of that. We've seen the early signs of that, and there's no reason we shouldn't be. The fundamentals of the economy are strong, and actually we have now learned that we need to bring manufacturing and the production of goods back to this country. We need to be much more self-reliant than we have been, and in the middle term, it's going to be a good thing.
All right, we'll end on that optimistic note. He is Curtis Ellis, founder of American Jobs Alliance, served as a senior policy advisor on Trump 2016 and the presidential transition team, and special advisor to U.S. Secretary of Labor in the Trump administration. Curtis, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
So I just finished a full Ironman event, which is a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a full marathon, which is 26.2 miles. And that brings my total to 4 Ironman events and a full marathon just in the past 12 months. An important factor for me is recovery, because a couple of those events have been back-to-back. I can exercise as much as I want, but I need to be able to recover as well. Balance of Nature is the most natural form of fuel that I can get on a race. It's helping me to be able to push my body to the limits.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or by going to balanceofnature.com and make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Since 1970.